Hello, today is August 31st, 2024. We always start with our disclaimer, go over our calls, and it's the weekend, so we'll review the longer term picture as well. It's my trading plan for Tuesday, September 3rd. I have personal business in the afternoon on Tuesday and Wednesday. I may be able to trade in the morning. I doubt I'll do much in the afternoon, which means I may not be risking much if any of my own money on these calls. Trade at your own risk. Look for the pattern with the early high, which is this, and Tuesday we're looking for the pattern with the early low. We had mixed signals, and the commonest thing is to gap and promptly trade outside the day's range, the prior day's range. Here's the gap. Here's the prior day's low, and we traded under it. I never really defined promptly. Certainly this breakout later is not prompt, it's the end of the day. But after consolidating, we dropped there pretty much in a straight line, so I'm going to count that. I had a higher target, 56.3271. This came awfully close in the morning, and there was resistance there. There is a tolerance on these calls. This did not meet the tolerance, so that was not satisfied here, but it was satisfied later in the day. This is a review of what we said. Gap, prompt move outside the day's range. These are the patterns I expect to see next week. Markets closed on Monday for a U.S. holiday. Let's go over what happened with MEJT on Friday's trade, because we do have a new target, 5604.36. That's quite a bit under where we closed. And unless we gap up smartly, that's my call for Tuesday. Well, MEJT says this drop was false, now says this rally is false, and gives us the target. There is a wall into the close. Now, this is a pattern which usually closes at the day's high. And with 10 minutes left to trade, it didn't close at the high. So at that point, I would still view it as a negative pattern, which with time not running out yet, because time would have run out early Tuesday. This is not the time when I look for strong breaks like this. This is a wall into the close, under strain, buying, no pullbacks at all, at a time when institutions are not going to be buying stock because they need liquidity, they need someone to take the other side of the trade. And the last time you're going to find someone to take the other side of the trade at a good price is a Friday afternoon before a 3-day weekend. That just doesn't happen. Now that's not, so if that's right, if this is panic purchasing, we're going to correct this by gapping down Tuesday, preferably under this low. And if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be very suspicious that this is the real thing. That we're not going to know until Tuesday's open. Now, usually when you rally all day like this on Friday, almost always you're going to follow through Tuesday. And if you don't follow through Tuesday, it's negative. And if you gap down Tuesday, it's very negative, even though this gap should fill often before you wait too long. So if we keep going up, gapping up, I mean, this could be a real breakout. But usually the timing makes this highly suspicious. And if we gap down first, if we don't gap up, I'd expect us to gap down smartly, undercut this low. Here's where we are on the daily chart according to the DeMark account. I did find a mistake in my count on the monthly chart. I don't even look at this one too much, but I had the wrong numbers on one of the bars. Kind of embarrassing, but I did. We just completed 9 bars of setup. That's usually a place where the market corrects or pauses, but it's not required. We didn't do it here, but don't forget this is a monthly chart. I mean, this means over the next month we didn't go too far, and it wouldn't surprise me if over the next month we didn't go too far here either. But it's not a requirement. It's just something which happens often. Well, we've had back to back to back diamond on stilts patterns. We were all set up for a drop as long as we undercut this low. That was the confirmation, but we never got it. We've now, on the last inverted diamond on stilts, remember half a diamond's enough, we've now gone over the origin of the left stilt. Now the first challenge usually holds, so that's usually resistance. If we don't reverse this early, that's support. So if I'm right about this wall reversing, you want to gap down here. If we don't gap down here promptly, and we hold on to this, I mean, this is a support level that you've broken. You could go higher. Well, here's the long-term chart. We had this major low here. We're counting this as an ABC with good fibs, and that's blue A. Now this could be the end of blue B. This could just be rallying here. I would be happier if blue B took a bit more time to complete, but that doesn't make me right. If this blue B isn't over, this could be A, magenta A, and somewhere in here there's a magenta B. Now that's a weekly chart. If you look at the daily chart, it looks like you've had this big run up and you've had a consolidation, and it looks like you're ready to blast ahead after the consolidation. And we still haven't broken through this trend line. There it is. And until we do, that's resistance. It's been challenged so many times, I think we'll break through it, but that doesn't mean you won't go down first. If we gap up over this trend line and don't reverse it promptly, that's a major breakout. That hasn't happened yet. So if I'm going to get the lower prices I want, we're going to have to stop pretty soon. If this is not the end of B, but maybe C, and if this is B, I mean, there should be a magenta C coming up, but it doesn't mean it has to come up now. I mean, how would you count this? If it could be that B is going to be higher than A, making an expanded flat, and then we'll see later. Let's take a look just at this thing here and see what we come up with. Don't forget, we're still stalling at this resistance here. We gap over this. We had a strong rally Friday. We gap over this, the whole picture changes. So let's see how we can count this. Well, if this is A and this is B, you have to find some way to count it. This could be green A and magenta B. And if that's what it is, if you look at the blue count, you could have A with an ABC with C equal to A and this B. And if that's true, if that's the right count, which we don't know at this point, we should stop right here and then correct wave blue C. But after that blue C, which based on the length of A probably isn't going to be too bad, that would just be green A and green B and magenta B. We could have one more rally, and that's the way it's looking. Doesn't mean it starts right now. Be a lot clearer if this counts right and we had one somewhat mild correction first. If that's true, then there has to be some way to count this move up from August 28th. Well, here's August 28th, and if you count this as A, and that is B, you can set A at 100%, and C is exactly 78.6, so that one works. And if you look at waves, this last leg up of C, ABC, I mean, you can call that A and that B, and there's your C right at the 168. And I'll tell you, if you do it with this ABC for B, there's also a 1.618, I should say. There's also a 1.618 relationship between A and C of green B. So all the fibs work if we stop here. Now usually the first challenge of the origin of the left still holds, but when they're this close together it just doesn't work that well. If we do challenge this origin later on with this diamond on stilts, there could still be a sizable break. But otherwise, if we don't correct down through here fast, ideally by gapping down, we've overcome this resistance, and this becomes support. The Tuesday's pattern has the early low, which doesn't tell us where we open. There's a lower MEJT target. Unless we gap up smartly, the rules call for it to print. Strong Friday rallies nearly always follow through at the next day's open. It's bearish if they don't, and the wall into the close makes that plausible. The ideal situation for bears would be to gap down at the open and promptly undercut Friday's late low. Were this to happen, the lower target would be favored to print, and a multi-day correction could start. And the wave count isn't totally clear, but the one I have suggests any correction is going to be a mild correction before we start up again. But if you maintain a gap over resistance, a gap up over resistance, it changes the picture, but still need to be confirmed. But if we got the confirmation, I'm just going to have to reassess the intermediate term picture. Long term, I still feel we go much higher. The only issue is if we drop first. We have a number of things compatible with a mild, somewhat mild correction coming up, provided this high holds and we gap under this. If this rally continues and we don't print this target, if this rally continues, this whole corrective wave might be over and we might have a lot more to go on the upside. That's not my preferred scenario at this point. But I don't know how we open on Tuesday, and if we open up here, I'm not going to fight it. What I really want to see is to gap down, take this out, and drop it. I don't know if that's going to happen at this time. We'll have to see what happens Tuesday, because if we do, I have a target in the plan, and if we don't, I have to make a reassessment, and that's today's call.